Let's be real. How many of us actually stick to our New Year's resolutions? We start every year with big promises. This year, I'm gonna get fit. I'll save more money, or I'll finally start that passion project or business. But who are we kidding? New Year's resolutions are one of the most broken promises we make to ourselves each year. How many of us can genuinely say we sought out and accomplished all the goals we set out for ourselves last year? I know I didn't. If we're real, by February, most of us have already slipped back into our old habits. For example, last year I wanted to start streaming. So I went out and bought a bunch of streaming equipment. It wasn't nothing crazy, but it was enough to get me started. I've definitely done a handful of streams too. And I set all these big goals for myself, such as averaging 100 viewers, becoming an affiliate or partner, which I'm sure I've definitely could have accomplished if I actually stayed consistent. For most people, motivation normally lasts the first few months. Some may see results, others may not. But sometimes, life just starts lifing. Or we simply just let our foot off the gas and we lose momentum. Unfortunately, I'm guilty of both. Even so, every so often, I might remember my goals from the beginning of the year, and I would want to get back on track, get motivated. But then I'll just tell myself, oh, I'll start tomorrow, or what? I'll start next week, or maybe even next month. And when that time comes, I just make up another excuse and the cycle just continues. I think that we often go onto the new year with this expectation that this big change somehow gonna happen overnight. That somehow, just because we set this goal, we'll just suddenly become this new and improved version of ourselves and it'll stick. But in reality, we're still carrying the same old and bad habits from yesterday. The ones that held us back in the first place. To make real change, we have to start breaking down those old habits and building new ones that more align with our goals. Recently, I've been re-listening to this podcast by one of my favorite YouTubers, Agent 00. In this podcast, he talks about how he struggles to commit to long-term goals that he sets for himself. He explains that he doesn't know how his life is going to be like a year from now, let alone tomorrow. So what he tries to do is to just focus on what he can control. And that's what he can do today. I think that we're all obsessed with the bigger picture, that we often overlook the steps that it takes to get there. Don't get me wrong, it's good to have an end goal, but real progress comes from the little things we do every day to support it. Another thing that he mentions is that when he first was starting his fitness journey, he didn't just try to break his old habits, he was trying to build new ones, and each month he was just trying new things. For me, I've started asking myself small questions every day. Do I have time to get a little quick workout in, or do I have time to come up with ideas or just jot down some notes for the script that I'm writing? And the answer is almost always yes. Who doesn't have 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes to just work on themselves for a little bit? And don't lie to me, I know you do. Instead of spending those 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed on TikTok, just work on something to get you just a little bit closer to where you want to be. And I'm really talking to myself when I say this, because this video was supposed to drop back in January. Regardless, this daily approach has kept me moving forward, and it helps me build habits that align with my goals. And most importantly, it removes the pressure of having it all figured out from day one. With that being said, this year I challenge you to ask yourself, what is one thing that I can do today that can get me just a little bit closer to my goals?